We have roughly 200 customers divided over agriculture, utility business and public sector. And what we do for them is that we monitor a lot of regulations. We do inspections, we help them in monitoring, and sometimes we even do mapping. The business concept is based on a service level agreement. And so they have information and we tell them where it's wrong and we help them to update. We signal where the information has changed and how to update it. I'm talking to you for a couple of minutes on these open data experiences we have in the last couple of years. So already from my introduction it follows that open data are very important to us, in the sense that when you have a space-based change signal, when you signal a change, you basically have something to do with a change in color. You have to link it to a geo object, and other open data and other information has to tell you what the object means to your customer. So open data is vital to our business development at this stage. Two examples, one is a tree register and the other is a satellite image portal. Tree information is a bit of an odd story really. So we started out with generating tree information by Earth observation techniques in Holland over the last 10 years really. And the point is that every urban Dutch tree, every tree in a Dutch city costs roughly the owner 20 euros a piece. So if they have, the case of Rotterdam, they have 450,532 trees. Well, you can count what is their budget on managing tree information. So tree information is a commodity and they use a number of parameters in that sense, which are some you can see from the satellite, and sometimes you have to pick it up from the field or from other data. This is how it looks. This is the part you can see from the satellite, and the tree crown diameter, the tree height, and the management and the type of tree basically. But this tree species you have to go down and get it from somebody who walks around there. How do we exploit the data? We put the data into a database, and the database is owned by a cooperative. So the members really own the data in the cooperative, not us. We provide the services to the database and we live off the services to the database. So we can, according to the opinion of the members of the cooperative, sell the data or provide the data for free to whomever is interested in these data according to different models. So we go to the general meeting of the cooperative and we make a decision on new members and the forms of use they want to make of the database. So in this database we follow a principle which we say open as possible. So you really need your customers, or somebody has to pay of course, but at a point you want you can only get commercially sustainable if you have enough income. So most of these customers have to pay you to keep the information in the database up to date, but they're willing to. Also, it takes some time to get it commercially profitable. The black figures will only pass by the end of this year, presumably, or we hope to do that anyway. And we have been doing it since 3-4 years now. But the idea of the open data cooperative as such is a concept which I would like to give some attention maybe in the discussion later on. We also produce this tree register by and large from open data as such. So there is a LiDAR database in this country and there are large-scale base maps and there is imagery. And so bits and pieces together create this database of 126 million trees. But this is by and large what we have in Holland as an open data infrastructure. The last bit is a satellite imagery element, which covers optical imagery from spot 6-7, so by and large a resolution of 1.5–2 meters. There's a 20-meter coverage, a frequent coverage, and there is a 10-meter radar sat coverage as well. The government buys the data at a certain license, and the license says that they are free to distribute it over the internet, but to users in Holland and to companies in Holland. So in a way it violates European regulations, you may say. But in finding this sort of creative licensing formula, there is a basis to do proprietary owned imagery, to publish proprietary owned imagery over the internet. Of course, also for this, this is something which has been in operations now for 2 years, 2 to 3 years really. And customers are not yet convinced that the imagery will always be there, so they are reluctant to step in. But we hope that when we continue and when we make a next step in funding the portal for the next 5 years, and we hope to do that by this year, but the perspective is there that you can rely on it now. Just a small example of what you can do with this sort of imagery, or what customers do is they monitor their infrastructural projects. So there are, of this particular area, near the A1, the main road from Amersfoort to Amsterdam, there is a new turn-off and it's under construction, and it involves a lot of structural work. So there is a bridge over the railway, and there is another bridge over the canal. And there is a lot of activity, and people monitor the project as such, just by looking at the imagery and interpreting the results, and by discussing it between the contractor and the client. That's one main purpose. The other purpose is compliance of regulations by police inspectors, by other sorts of inspectors, civil use inspector, environmental inspectors, and so on. They look at the pictures and derive information from these images, which helps them in making decisions on where to go in the field. Should I get in or don't I get in? And the second thing is that when there is a form of trespass, they have to give it a time. When they go to court, they have to give it a time, a date stamp. And in often of these environmental crimes, they say it happened before April 16 and after April 12. For the court, that is no case. If you go to the judge and you say, I have a trespass, but they don't know when it's been committed, you don't get your case confirmed. So the satellite image is a substantial help to them in confirming the date with a sort of legal document and saying, well, this is my... so open data helps them in a way, but it's still in the beginning of the stages. So what we do with it as a company is we use the imagery to signal changes and to sell the changes off as such to customers who are interested in the product, and maybe we can discuss on that later as well. So this also has a number of lessons. One is that you need creative discussions, that you need a creative licensing option to get it off the ground. That discussion in itself may take years, and has successes and failures, but by moving around you finally get to a level which is sustainable. And the other thing, which the second conclusion is, applies to the tree register, applies to all sorts of public information which is accessible to, which is used by different users. And it is that virtually none, if you take a city and you say, well, we want to build a new geo-information from you with up-to-date data, there's no entity within that city who is able to afford your services and your data. And certainly not if you want to update it frequently as could be useful. But together, the utility companies, the government, the different entities within the government, they have a satisfactory quantity of funds, and they're capable of funding it together. So we do have a number of these experiments running, and we hope to get that formula of this tree registry also in other sorts of concept with other objects off the ground in other countries. And jointly they can pay our costs. So thank you for your attention.